So I work with senior executives on their leadership growth. And I think there's two parts of building a leader. There's the competence part that we work on. We develop the competence. And then there's the character part. We develop the character of the person. And I strongly believe that by building the character, that's where the true leadership lies. So we will today also touch that part, and I'm hoping that each of you can look at this from two different levels. It's both self-leadership, how you can lead yourself, and how you can lead the people around you. So kind of going back and forth into those perspectives. Okay, so let's start exploring what accountability is, because I think that is the foundation for great leadership, that we are able to really take accountability and also lead accountability. So today we have three topics. We're talking about accountability and empowering organizations. Then we're also talking about powerful directness and how we can really talk from the heart and have those difficult discussions with our employees or our spouses or our children or our friends, whoever you need to have those discussions with. And then as the last part, we will take a look at one tool, how you can manage progress and transparency with the help of technology. So let's start with the accountability. And my claim here is that without balanced accountability, leadership turns into leadership. And we might not even notice when we go there. So I want you to first discuss with the partner, with the two people in your team, what does it look like and how do you notice if someone is taking way too little accountability? What are some of the characteristics when someone is taking too little accountability? Go ahead. Okay, let's put it together. So what do you find? How do you notice that someone is taking too little accountability? Finding excuses? Excuses? Yes. What else?
Blames external factors.
Blame.
He's not engaged.
Not engaged.
Low energy. So often saying, not my business, it's not my business.
Wait. And then I heard no energy.
Low energy.
Waiting for somebody to do something.
Not recognizing mistakes.
Not recognizing
Mistakes.
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 Not admitting, not willing to talk about them. Always busy. Always busy. Yeah. Isn't it fascinating when they're not taking accountability and they're so busy? Yeah. Or is it spelled busy? Anything else? What about learning? Is it happening or is it not happening?
No learning.
No learning. What about results?
No results. No delivery.
Doesn't take risks.
Yeah.
Thinking only about threats.
Only about
Threats.
threats, yeah.
An excellent export. Could be an excellent export in some area, but without leadership skills,
Yeah.
or with low leadership skills.
Someone who doesn't assume his role.
How do you mean?
For example, a leader who doesn't assume that he's a leader there.
So doesn't really understand the role they are in
Correct.
when it comes to leadership? brackets, we'll talk about it a bit. So isn't it fascinating that each of you knew how to spot when someone is not taking accountability? And you had exactly the same stories. I used to run an IT organization, and I had 6 managers from 6 different countries. And one of the things that I did with them is that I fired the someone. So whenever someone was saying that we need someone to do this, I said, too bad, because someone was fired. And they very quickly picked up that they're not able to use that, putting something on someone. And if you're spotting people who take too little accountability, you can actually spot it in their words, their languages. They are having a lot of the excuses. They are blaming other people. And then also they're using a lot of words like we should, we could, we need to, instead of, oh, we don't? Yes.
My favorite business mates. I couldn't do that, or I couldn't do business.
Or just find other people to delegate their tasks to.
Yeah. And even that they usually don't really do well, because delegation is not giving someone a job and then walking away. So, okay. So we know what it looks like when you have too little accountability. What about when we have too much accountability? Now your brain might go like, how can you have too much? Investigate, explore. How do you know that someone has too much accountability? What does that look like? What are the characteristics? Talk to a friend.
Unable to work in a team.
Yes. Yes.
Micromanagement.
Yes.
Is exhausted, stressed, burnt
Yes.
out.
These people feel so overwhelmed and stressed.
Taking failure too personal.
Yes.
Thinking about
Yeah, even that. And there was one in between. Someone said, not trusting. Everybody.
Doesn't have any personal life. Don't have time for any personal life.
Yeah.
The
Or at
team-
least the work-life balance is not.
Always learning.
The team it's depressed and they all want to run.
Maybe if you wait that person, then all the knowledge is with that person.
Yes.
It's not transferable. So
Yes.
it's not like it's not just
Yes. And now, delegate. So now we're also talking about the delegation that since they don't trust the team, they're not delegating. But also some, like good leaders are delegating, but not delegating in a growth, nourishing way. And what I mean by that is that leadership is about nourishing growth. That's everything that leaders should be focused on. And when we delegate, we should not, okay, let me put it this way. Usually how we delegate is that we find the person who is best at the job and then we'll put the job on that, right? So then we have 1 or 2 people in the team that we fully think, they are capable, and then we put all the great stuff on them. But when we learn to grow as a leader, we start delegating with growth nourishment mindset, which means that we will look at the team and think, okay, who has enough ability to do the job, but not enough so they will learn a lot. And we delegate to those people. That way we will lift up the whole team step by step with each of the tasks that we delegate. So delegate to people who can actually learn from doing that job.
in reality leadership managers they are dedicated to the top performance.
Yes.
Within the teams. Then the top performance will be huge workload. And the other ones actually they will remain at the same level of
So did you hear what she was saying?
That if you don't trust, because it's a problem of trust, because you have time, to take into consideration the time that the job needs to be done.
Yeah.
So if I have somebody in the team who knows very well what is to do, why should I delegate it to him? And I should choose other one just to blow him? Do I have that time? That's the question.
Okay, so if you play the short game as a leader, so I want the results right now, and that's everything that matters. Then you delegate to the people who know the job, and you probably don't the next to do it fast. If you are playing the long game, so you want the organization to thrive in the long run, and it might mean that we will not make this deal, or we will lose this client, but in the long run, we will grow a lot. Then we will be focused on the growth. And then we will take the time, even if it sometimes is costly. It's not that fast, it's not that effective, but in the long run, it's the way to go. And I know it's painful. I've been there with my team, so I know that we need to really work on ourselves to have the patience to help people to grow, and then also to know when it's time not to support anymore. Like, we give all the support to the people for them to grow, but there becomes a time when enough is enough, and this is not the right place for them to work if they are not getting the results with all the support they're getting. And that's the difficulty in being a leader, to know when that point comes. And it's not, usually it's not too late, it's usually too early. We're quick to assume that, the project isn't working, we need to change the project manager. Usually that's not the right thing to do in the long run. And then we see a lot of leaders who are watching low performers over and over and over and blaming them for not performing. And they should take the mirror and check, what am I doing in my leadership towards this person? And what is it that I need to do to grow this person? And maybe what I need to do at some point to grow this person is to get him another job. Because everyone should have the possibility to succeed. And I feel if we are keeping people in positions, in tasks that they are not able to perform in, after we've given them all the support, after we feel we've done a lot, then that's actually bullying. To keep people in tasks that they are not able to succeed in. Okay? So, going back to this, we have
more there, and there was like, especially founders, for example, of companies, they cannot
let
go to the next generation, to the managers.
Yeah. And what is that about? Not being able. It's about control. It's about fear. And usually, if we have organizations that have a lot of managers who take way too much accountability, fear is something that enters the organization. Because with a manager like this, we're not allowed to make mistakes. That's going to be really bad. And you will hear it, how bad you are. So again, interesting that we all knew how to recognize when someone is taking too much accountability. Tell your friend which way you might be leaning on under stress. When you're stressed. Notice if you're doing one of these lists, if you're starting to verbalize blame or excuses, or if you're starting to verbalize the stuff that too much says. They are using words like, I have to do this, or no one else can do it if I don't do it. And, just notice that going on in you, and you will notice that you're off balance. So what about when we have the accountability, the balanced accountability, the virtuous leadership. What does that look like? Explore with a friend, use your imagination. What would that look like when you're not taking too much, you're not taking too little, you're taking just right, the accountability, and you're cool with it? Talk to your friend. You have time. Yes. So your kind of time management skills. Yes. A person who is great at taking accountability is a great listener. And we as coaches know how darn hard that is to be a really active, good listener. What else?
See the silver lining.
Can you explain a bit?
Yes, for example, having something bad in the organization, you don't have the expected outcome. However, you see from that an opportunity of growth and an opportunity to learn from that experience.
Yes, definitely. And I've seen this so many times, and I've been very curious about how these people think. What are the belief systems that they have? And one of the things that I find in common with a lot of leaders who are good at taking accountability in a balanced way is that they think not yet. So if the project didn't succeed, they think it just didn't succeed yet. Or we didn't get this finished yet. Or we didn't know how to do this yet. So they don't see that it's an obstacle or it's something that's not happening. They're just looking at it, okay, it didn't work this way, let's find another way.
Yeah. It's just like the solution.
Yes. They see the problem. They are willing to talk about the problem, but they are looking at it as, you know, how do we get past it? How do we solve it? And they believe there's a way. Even if it seems impossible, actually, I'm using one word. In English, we have, in Finnish, in my language, we only have one word for this. But in English, we have two. We have belief and we have faith. Belief means that I believe there's a God. And faith is that I know there is. And these people, they know there's a solution. They know we can get there. Even if they don't know how, but they know it's going to happen.
It's just like a failure is a failure to stop there. Otherwise, it's just a feedback.
Yeah, that's a good one as well. Yeah. Anything else?
Acceptance.
Mm-hmm. Acceptance of what?
Of what is.
Encourages.
Accepting what is. So basically, this also means that they are willing to look at things as they are, and then imagine how they would like them to be, and then they will figure out a way to make it that way. So they're not fooling themselves. So actually, I would also write here that this is honesty. Like, we are part of our honesty, and it's easier to be honest to others than it is to be honest to ourselves. It's really, really hard actually to be honest with ourselves. And you can see it from the language. So these people say that, you know, I'm so sorry I'm late. There was an awful traffic, you know, someone caught me in the traffic, whatever. So it's always someone else's excuse. These say, I had to stay late, that's why I'm late, blah, blah, blah. Again, a little bit of blame. These people say, I'm so sorry, thank you for waiting for me. I completely just left too late. They own the situation. You had something?
Yeah, I would want to with dreaming or with visioning. These people are looking for the future, are living their dreams, are making possible things.
Yeah. And they're looking at futures. So they're seeing several different scenarios. And when we move on, we can always pick another scenario because we will find a way. And actually, a lot of times I see these people being actually motivated when someone says, you can't do that, that's not going to happen, it's not going to work, and they go, watch me. What else did you find?
encourages and empowers people and then trusts them to do their job right.
Yes.
Support when available.
Yes. Give support. And is available. So it's also accessible. They make,
This
yeah,
is better or accessible than available.
yeah. They make time for the people they lead. Because actually, if you ask people, different leaders, you ask them, you know, how much leadership time do you have in your calendars? These two are looking at you like, is this a trick question? But they know what I'm talking about. They've got the time to be accessible. They are, when you go and talk to a leader like this, you are the most important thing in that moment. You're not feeling they need to hurry. You're not feeling that they are rushing you. They've got the time for you. It doesn't mean that they will stay with you for 2 hours when you babble about your dog and everything like that. They will kindly, actually they have a trick. They will stand up, they will kindly walk to the door, and you don't even realize you are walking with them. And they will smile, thank you, and you will walk out of the door. But they are not making you feel disrespected, not cared for, or that your stuff is not relevant. What else?
Give thanks to the people listening.
Yes. They actually are listening to what you need, and then they will genuinely, from their heart, try to give you what you need so that you can shine at your work. It's actually about you. It's not about them. It's not about them shining anymore. These people, they really want to be there. They want you to shine.
So they do it because they really care.
Yes.
Genuinely.
Yes, from the heart.
They're committed.
They're committed. Yes.
They allow mistakes.
They allow mistakes. Why?
Just because they understand this is the way people can learn and grow.
Because they are now focused. The focus is actually in the learning, in the growth of those people and the organization. What else?
And it's also a matter of knowing the team, knowing your team, and knowing their strengths, so that you can offer them the right support.
And how come they know their team?
Because they listen.
Because they listen, because they care, because they take the time, because they are truly interested. These people have employees working for them. They have employees working with them. A huge change, just one word, a huge change in the mindset. They are serving the team to perform and to make whatever greatness they're making. They see the greatness in each of the employees. They don't have employees in that sense. What else? You had fear here. What do you have here?
Courage.
Courage. And trust.
Curiosity.
Yes. Curiosity is the vaccine. If you want your organization to not be frustrated, angry, and negative emotions, we need curiosity. Curiosity is the vaccine. You're not able to be curious while you're angry. Or you're not able to stay frustrated when you get curious. So curiosity is the state of true leadership. And that's also when we're never ready. We're always learning. We're always curious. Things are just interesting. And that keeps us open. That keeps us going forward. If there's one belief that you can install into your employees, into your children, that belief is that you are a fast learner. If your kids believe that they are a fast learner, they will stay curious.
Do you think that this kind of profile of person is fitting for any kind of organization?
I would say yes, but it's not always how you will pay. So now we're talking about, okay, that's a very good point, question. Now we're talking about what you believe inside of you and how you take personal accountability. And for that question, I would say yes. This is a profile of a great leader. It doesn't mean that this great leader who believes in this wouldn't be very strict and have to make very direct or difficult business decisions. And he might not be seen as this, but in that moment as well, they are taking full responsibility and accountability for those difficult decisions, understanding that this was the best decision out of a lot of really bad decisions.
Yes, I'm talking about the context because when you are working within an organization, it's also the organizational culture and the context. Like if the organization will give you time to be like this, or it's, for example, giving you much more than you can carry on, and then you with your team, how no matter on how you are structured, in the end you have to adapt to the context. Or in my opinion, or either you adapt and change maybe something that you, or you leave because you can't accept the context.
Yes, or you change by your example or by how you are doing things. Leadership is always a balance. You get different kinds of demands from people above you. You get demands from your colleagues, and you get demands from your employees. And you do need to balance. But like we heard from Richard before about the values, if this is something that is in your core values, something that you feel is really important, that you are taking accountability and you are really leading with respect, no matter what organization you're in, you will find a way to live by your values. And if you can't, then that's not the right place for you to be. So I would say don't sell your soul in that sense. That if the organization is not allowing you to be a good leader, then you need to have a very hard discussion with yourself on this. But the first option should never be lead. The first option should be, be an example, lead by example, bring the results. The results will talk for you, and people will come to you asking, what do we do differently? Like, I don't get how your organization is thriving. You have less money, you have less resources, what's going on? And then you've got the moment where you can actually explain what leadership does. I had one discussion with the company's HR where I used to work when we got our leadership index results. So they do a survey every year, and then you get leadership index results. And the 600 managers that I was leading were getting really good results. And the HR manager, not probably knowing what they said, told me that, it's so easy for you because you've got these great managers. And I was like, okay, let's make a deal. For the next organization we're rebuilding, give me the managers who have the worst leadership indexes. And I will show you what this is about. They never did, but I dared them to really think that it's not about the people. Of course we want the best people, but we need to lead the people we've got. And we don't always get the best people, but we get amazing people in their own way. Every person is amazing when you look close enough. And when you're looking at them and you're finding the things that they are great at, and you're really supporting their growth, people surprise you what they can do. And I think that's the thinking that we need as leaders. Because we don't always get to pick the organization, or we don't get to pick the culture, or even the people, or even the organization, or the people in the organization. We don't definitely get to pick the clients, but we can make the most out of it. And Even if you think that you cannot make an impact, you definitely can. The energy, the state, the mindset, you know, the space that you create, you can make a huge difference in the people. And people, they want to shine. And it's amazing when they feel that you see the greatness in them. And if you want to see what a great leader looks like, look at a place where someone is leaving a trail of leaders. When you leave the organization, and there's a lot of leaders left who are able to lead themselves, who are able to lead others, then you've done a great job. It's not about people coming to clap and praise you. It's about you seeing all these people you've worked with, people you've impacted, that are now great leaders, no matter what their title is. Leadership is not about title. So anyone can be a great leader of themselves and of the people they are working with. It's not about, you know, the size of your organization. Okay, let's take a small pause here just to talk to a friend about what have you heard so far and what would you want to write down for yourself. So now we've talked about accountability and what it looks like when you're doing it in a balanced way. So let's talk about how you lead accountability, how you're able to get the organization, get your team to really take their accountability. So in English we have actually two words. We talk about responsibility and accountability, and I'd like us to make a difference between these two. And I'll use an example. So let's say I would ask Monica to go and get us some cookies. And she would say, okay, I'll do it. And I'll tell her that, you know, they've got some cookies in the corridor. And she'll go there, she looks around, there's no cookies. She would come back and she would say, okay, there was no cookies, so what do you want me to do? Right? She did exactly what I asked her to do, but when she was not able to do it, she came back asking for instruction. But if I would have just posed the question a different way, I would say, okay, I think we're running a little bit low on blood sugar, and this would need to be solved. So who could go and get us something, like cookies or something? And now she would raise her hand and say, I'll do it. She would go out. She's not finding the cookies. What do you think she'll do now?
Ask someone,
She
go
will
and
ask.
find a store.
Exactly, and she might bring us ice cream. Because that would still do the job. It's not what I kind of suggested, but that would solve the issue. Yes, exactly. So what did I do differently in these two silly examples? In the first one, what did I tell her?
What to do.
Yeah, what to do it and even how to do it. Bad. How is not our concern as leaders. Okay? What else did I do differently? Yes, I told her to take this task. She accepted the task.
I didn't put her the limits.
Oh, I didn't put her limits either, yes. She didn't choose it. Exactly. That's a big, big difference. If a person chooses to take accountability, then they own it. It becomes the ownership of getting it done or solving the problem or finding a solution. If you are given a task, you might accept the task, but then you're only responsible for the task. You do what you're told. It's a small change, but it makes a huge difference.
And also the amount of information you gave her in the second situation told you what the problem really is. So she feels that she can contribute more by, she sees the goal of the situation, like to get people more
So I actually didn't only give her accountability, I gave her some power as well. Because now she can solve it in a way that she feels fit. Because I didn't tell her how to solve it.
And she understands the benefit if she needs.
And now we are also using her knowledge instead of just mine. because she might have a better, understanding of how to solve the problem. And I have 4 kids and 1 grandchild, so they are my laboratory for leadership. And one of the things that I noticed when they were teenagers, that it was completely, unbelievably difficult to get them to help out around the house. Clean your room was like, so what I did, I decided to try this thing, and I put these little post-it notes, and I put each of the tasks on the post-it notes. Take out the trash, vacuum the living room, whatever. And I put them on the wall, and I had something like clean the bathroom over there as well. And I told the kids that, okay, so you can pick any 3 post-its that you like, it's your choice, and you don't need to do anything else. You know what happened? Yes, and they were fighting about that. They were saying like, oh, Sophia took the trash, that was my post-it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so brilliant, it works. So this is how we clean up the house every week. We have the post-its, and now my youngest is 4, and he already knows when the post-its come up, and he goes, oh, we've got the cleaning post-its. Yeah, we got them. So it's a small difference between taking the accountability instead of being given the responsibility. It's about taking accountability of the end result, not taking responsibility of the task given. And as leaders, we should talk about the why and the reason, either the problem that we have so that the person can really understand, or the solution that we're aiming after, but not the how. Don't go there. That's when your ego thinks you've got the best solution, or you know best, or like becoming a manager brings some kind of a light on you that you've got this intelligence that nobody else has. That's not right. If you're a good coach or a good leader, you are stupid. I'll explain what this means. You're stupid, you're slow, and you're also, let me think what the last word is in English. And you're, what? Lazy, yes, thank you. So lazy because you don't do the work for your people. Stupid because you are allowed to ask the obvious questions. Every time that you think something is obvious, oh my gosh, have a discussion. Because that's when we go really wrong, when we assume that we are understanding the things the same way. Did you, by the way, have you explored the word?
Yes.
It makes an ass out of me. So don't assume, when we are talking about any word in the organization, like, for example, taking accountability, we all go, yeah, let's take accountability. Or we say, we should be more proactive. Oh yes, let's be proactive. But we have no idea what we mean by those words, or we completely differently understand what actually does that actually mean. So do ask the dumb question, the obvious questions. And what was the third one? Lazy, slow, and dumb. And slow, yes. So don't jump in, as a coach especially, don't jump in and save the client from a difficult question. So be slow, embrace silence. So when the client has stopped talking, just keep the silence. Usually after the small silence, that's where the magic happens. That's when something is brought up that was not accessible before, because we embraced the silence. You can do the same as a manager. Just allow the small silence to be there. Be a bit slow. And ask the dumb questions. And don't do the work for your people. Okay? So, we went through responsibility, accountability. So on the other side, we're telling what and how. And on the other side, we're explaining why. We're giving the responsibility, or we're enabling people to take the accountability. so that they can actually take the accountability of the end result, not only the task that they're doing. So what do we need for the organization to really own that accountability? And there's 4 things. First, we need to make sure that they really truly understand what is the actual problem or the solution that we're after. So like in Lean, we have the 5 whys. So we should always, whether it's with our client or as a leader in our organization, we should take a pause and look at what is the actual problem, or what is the actual decision that we're making. Because if we are not taking that pause, we might make a big mistake and go on the wrong direction that's going to be very costly. So I'll just take a stupid example outside of business world, is that, let's say someone asks you to marry them. And if you think the question that you've got here to solve, the problem or the decision you have is about whether or not you get married, you're in trouble. Okay? That's not the real question. The real question behind that is this the person I want to spend my good days and my bad days? Is this the person I want to commit to for the rest of my life? Is this the person who's going to love me at my worst? Those are the questions that we should be asking. And it is the same in business world. When we've got a question or we've got a decision, just pause and look beyond. Ask, what is the real problem? Or what is the real decision that we are making here? And it doesn't need to be more than 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You will find something so much deeper that will make you a better leader or a better coach or a better human being. So, okay, it doesn't show, but it says here, ability to handle difficult issues. So this is also our ability to bring up the difficult questions, to look deeper, and to be able to just confront the uncomfortable feelings that we get. Because a lot of the questions are a bit uncomfortable. It's so much easier to think, oh, this guy asked me to marry, we'll have a big party and a wedding and so on, yeah, I'll say yes. Without really having those actual discussions with myself. And then you end up being divorced in 2 years. Why? Because you were in a hurry. You didn't have 5 minutes to pause and really think, what is the decision? What is the problem that we're solving? Okay, the second thing that we need to do is to really allow the people to have the power to make the decisions in their area of accountability. So if Monica is raising her hand, she will do the job, she will, fix this, then I'm not going to meddle. I'm not going to, take her power away. I will really trust her to do whatever she needs to do to solve it. And when she comes back with the chocolate or with the ice cream, I will applaud her for being creative, for solving the problem. I will not tell her that you should have brought biscuits. Right? So this is also the ability to build trust. Trust is the foundation of leadership, and if we're not able to lead in a way that nourishes trust, all the other leadership skills are in vain. People will not follow you if they don't trust you. So your number one skill to learn and practice is building trust. Whether you're a leader or a coach, that's what you need. You need to be able to create an environment like the bubble that Andre was talking, a bubble that people can enter and feel safe to do mistakes, feel safe to ask the stupid questions, feel safe to be with you no matter what happens. That's how you build an organization that will go through any storm and come up winners. But building trust will require for us to really also be aware of how we think about trust. Is trust something that people need to earn? So we don't trust them until they prove to be trustworthy? Or is trust something that we give them, and if they break our trust, then, you know, they're bad? But we cannot expect our employees to trust us or our client to trust us as coach if we don't fully do it first. It's our job as a leader or as a coach to give the trust to the other person and believe in them. Anyone who's got teenagers, you know how this works. If you really trust them and you tell them when they're going with their friends that, you know, you're a smart girl, I know you're doing a smart thing, and I'll see you at 12. They will be there 5 to 12. If you tell them, you know, you better be home at 12 or something bad's going to happen, you know, at 2 a.m., they're not there. So people will respond to trust in the way that you give it to them. So if you are suspicious, they will not be trustworthy, or some people will. And if you trust them, most people will do their absolute best to really keep your trust and do things in a way that they are trustworthy. And then the third one is courage, and that faith that we talked about. Have faith in the success. That's what is needed so that people can actually take the accountability. So have faith that you are able to solve the issue. So the ability to build self-confidence and resilience in others is part of leadership. We should also pay attention to how we do that. How do we encourage people? How do we build their self-confidence? I've had the privilege of having several managers in my career who believed in me when I didn't, who put me in places that was crazy. I didn't have the experience, I didn't have the know-how, I didn't know what to do, and they just said, you know, you got it, go ahead. And I did. I found a way, because they kind of pushed that self-confidence on me. And I think you should do the same. You should really push that self-confidence in people, and then of course be there to support them, not leave them hanging and see if they're wrong or not. And then the last one is permission to make mistakes and to learn. This is where the ability to nurture growth is measured. So when the first mistake happens, that's when your leadership is being measured. Are you looking to blame someone? Are you looking to point out their mistakes? Or are you really looking to support them in their growth journey? Applaud them for having the courage, for making mistakes. It's different if they make the same mistake 3 times. But usually people are fast learners when you're helping them to really make mistakes and learn from it. So, when you do these 4, that's what we call empowerment. So when people understand the big picture, they feel that they have the power to make decisions, they feel that they have the power to solve it in the way that they feel best. They really believe in themselves and the fact that there will be a solution, even if it's not yet found. And then they know that they have permission to make mistakes and learn. It's safe. That's when you have an empowered organization. And 9 out of 10 times, it's going to be magic. 1 out of 10, it's going to be a disaster worth the learning. Really worth the learning. Sometimes we should, if we see that people are kind of hitting the wall, if it's not going to kill them, it's not going to kill the company. It might hurt a bit, or it might make a dent in our bottom line. Sometimes it's worthwhile to let them do the mistake and not be there safeguarding every mistake. So just evaluate the situation. If it's not too bad, just let them hit that wall. Okay. If someone in your team is not taking accountability, it's on you. Change your leadership. If you have a problem in your organization, it's on you. Every single problem, issue in the organization, at the end, it's a leadership problem. Change your approach. Okay? Before we go on, have a talk with a friend. What have you heard so far? What can you use? What can you take with you? Questions about leading accountability.
You mentioned the trust issue, but let's say we can empower people to do that, but the person that's taking accountability is the least appropriate from a skill set perspective. What do you do then? Because you don't want to cut their wings, to say so you don't want to say, out of these 20 people, you're the last person I would wish to take that. So then how would you approach that?
I would look at it as, what is this person really good at? And try to kind of get them to do something that is really beneficial for the company, that is using that strength that they have. So instead of telling them no on something, I would tell them yes on something else.
That something else is something that the person's been doing for quite some time, so they would need diversity, right? And that diversity would mean them stepping out of their comfort zone and doing something that's at least for quite some time being proven as not appropriate for them.
So what could be something in between? So you're saying they are now in a job that they already can do, and they would like to jump in a job they cannot do. So what's in between? That has like 85% of the things that they can do and 15% of the things that they need to learn. I think that's probably a good point for everyone, that when we're leading people, we should make sure that they have about 50% of something that they don't know how to do. That they always have something they need to a little bit struggle with or learn. Because we get bored easily. We have been talking about now how, take accountability, lead accountability, and how we want to go into the balance. So if someone is feeling stressed now about, all this accountability we should take, then I'll show you how to avoid accountability. If you should do that at some point. So the first thing that you can do is just deny the facts, blame everything and everyone else, and that usually takes the accountability off your shoulders. If that doesn't work, then you can become helpless. You can tell a story that you're not being helped, how people are being rude and unfair. Oh, and then you can say, I don't have the management support. That's a good one. And if that still doesn't take the accountability off your shoulders, then just, lower your standards. Just, require less, do a worse job, and lower your standards so that it also is enough for tomorrow. So you don't need to work for it. And if that still doesn't work, then become afraid. Become very afraid about making a mistake, about doing something wrong, and especially about being exposed. Someone will find out that you are a human being and you cannot do it all. Just be afraid of that, and you are not having any accountability. Have you noticed yourself doing this at some point? And you should. I love this Stephen Covey quote. As long as you think that the problem is out there, that is the very problem. I think that sums up the accountability. Everything in our life is due to what we select and what we do, and what we think, and what we believe in, and what meanings we give things. We cannot select what happens in our life. I think I've had, 3 lifetimes worth of tragedies in my life, but I've made the selection. I've chosen to give it another meaning. I've selected to believe that life gives us, hardship and problems to teach us, to give us tools to make us thrive in the next things that happen in our lives. And sometimes, if we don't get the lesson first time, life will bring the tragedy to you again. And life is generous in that way. So you get to choose what are the meanings that you give things. You get to choose how you confront life. You get to choose what you believe in. And nothing that happens around you can take that away from you. You can give it to someone else. You can blame someone else. You can make it a problem. But that's your choice. So choose wisely what you want to believe in, and how you want to confront life, and how you want to show up in your organization or to your coaching clients, because they will respond in that world where you create space in. The other topic that we had today was directness. How to communicate in a direct way with being still respectful. Sometimes in my culture in Finland, people say that it's just me, I'm just being direct, when they are being offensive or rude, and they kind of hide behind the story that they are being direct. So the directness we are talking about now is really respectful, but still honest and open. And that's what we want to accomplish. So powerful directness in leadership, it starts with the respectful thinking. So I feel that leadership bias is that we are looking at people like they are whole, they are resourceful, they are full, they've got everything they need. They just haven't found the way yet. Instead of thinking they are wrong, or they are flawed, or they are broken, or they need to be fixed. That's a leadership bias that we need. So when you are going to, for example, give someone feedback, and you think it's what do you call it in English when it's a negative feedback, but it's not a nicer word? Constructive feedback. Yeah. You think that you're going there to give constructive feedback, and what the other person hears is criticism. Why? Because you, in your head, are going to fix them. You're going to give them constructive feedback so that they can become different. But if you're thinking that you are there to help their growth, that will change your energy, that will change your words, that will change your body language, and now they are hearing support. So your thinking will change the constructive feedback from criticism to support. And we want to be supportive, not criticizing. And the only thing you need to do is change the way that you think before you go into that discussion. And then avoiding uncomfortable feelings. We've all got this mechanism that we don't want to go there. If we think that the other person might react strongly, they might start crying, they might get upset, they might get angry to us, whatever, then we start avoiding. If we are there by thinking that we are supporting their growth, even if they would get upset, that's part of the process. It's not something we need to take personally. And we're not worried, or we're able to kind of let the worry be there from the other person. It's okay that they are concerned or worried or afraid of something. We're not telling them you shouldn't try, or don't be afraid, don't be worried. Instead, we're curious. Okay, you said you're worried. Let's explore that. What are you worried about? It's okay that we investigate that. We don't need to be concerned that there's going to be some uncomfort in this discussion. And then we need to be aware of the avoidance techniques that we are using ourselves, and I will share these with you. So the first avoidance technique is procrastination, which means that we know we need to do something, but we are moving it till tomorrow. We're not getting started. It's difficult for us to just start the uncomfortable task. For example, we know we need to have a direct discussion about performance, for example. And then we kind of, don't go talk to the person. We think, we can do it tomorrow, and we are not able to do that. The other thing that we do is substituting, which means that, I'll give you an example. When I was in school studying, every time we had an exam, oh my gosh, I needed to clean. And I needed to call all my friends I had to talk to for a while. So that was substituting. That was avoiding the uncomfort of studying for the exam. And then forgetting, conveniently forgetting. I did this for 4 months because I was supposed to call a doctor, and I always forgot. I could have called them between 9 and 5, so around 6 or 7 I was remembered. So conveniently, I forgot in the time when I would have been able to do that uncomfortable thing. And then, okay, we can also pretend there's no issue. Like someone comes to the job, they smell like alcohol, and then you kind of go, well, maybe he was just tired, or maybe he had a new cologne that kind of smelled. I don't think it's nothing. I'm not going to have that discussion. Let's see how it goes. So we tell ourselves stories, and then we start believing our stories. And that's an avoidance technique. We don't want to have that uncomfortable discussion with the person. And then the fifth one that we use is running away. I've seen a manager who was supposed to have a very direct discussion with one employee turn around physically in the corridor when they saw the person coming. I mean, that was so ridiculous. And we do that. We run away. We avoid the situations where we could handle that thing. And psychologically, this is also the same mechanism that happens when people turn to alcohol or drugs. They're running away from something that feels uncomfortable. And according to a lot of psychologists, this is the mechanism that is the source of all mental health problems. That we are not confronting the uncomfortable feelings, but we are avoiding them in one way or the other. And the avoidance becomes a new problem we need to avoid. If someone is interested in this, I truly recommend a book called The Road Less Traveled. The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. Maybe you can find it in your language, because the English version is quite difficult to read. It has a lot of psychological words. But it was really interesting. So let me stop here and tell a friend, what is you afraid of? What's your favorite one that you are using to avoid uncomfortable feelings? Okay. I hope everyone found a strategy that you can try out so that next time you have a difficult discussion, or you need to bring up something that is difficult, or you are afraid of an emotion that might arise, you will just take yourself and respectfully confront that issue instead of avoiding that. And to do so, we need to learn how to get rid of our defenses and put our egos down. So that we can just confront the person. Instead of blaming or accusing or trying to fix something, just be curious. Like, let's say, someone comes in late, like 30 minutes late, like way late into the meeting. Usually what the manager might say is that, you're late again. This cannot happen again. Blame all over. Instead of saying, okay, I saw you come in like 30 minutes past when we started the meeting, and that interrupted our discussion. So what's going on here? And there might be a reason, there might be an excuse. If there's an excuse, we might also reflect that back. Okay, I'm hearing that you're now kind of blaming the traffic and blaming everyone else, but what's going on really? They will never be late again. So how can we confront a conflict? And the answer is curiosity. Curiosity is the vaccine. And how we can bring up difficult issues is that we will just talk from the heart. This bothers me. When I saw you talk to Mike, I got confused. It's different from saying, you were yelling at Mike, that's not correct. And then really provoking the slow thinking. If you haven't yet read Kahneman's book about thinking fast and slow, please do. It's an awful book because it takes ages to read. But it's a brilliant book because it really gives you the insight of what's going on in our brains when our different thought patterns are at work. He actually got a Nobel Prize for that book, so I really recommend for you to read it. So we want to provoke slow thinking. Go ahead.
Please, can you say another, what's the name of the book? The name of the book.
Thinking Fast and Slow.
Thank you.
Yeah, Daniel Kahneman. And what we mean by provoking slow thinking is that as a coach, and why not as a leader, but especially as a coach, the questions that we ask should be questions that there are no answers to. Questions that really require a pause or require that, that facial expression that our clients get when they go like, that's what we're looking for. And sometimes people are so rational that then they go back to the kind of real topic, and you might stop them there and say, I noticed that you might be figuring out something about yourself. What is it? Kind of invite them back with the thought that they just got, instead of going to the rational discussion. And how we provoke slow thinking is that we ask questions that are not obvious. And a lot of times when I do coaching, I might ask a question and it comes out, and then I'm looking at the question and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm asking. But it doesn't matter because the client knows. And even if the client would answer completely something else that I meant I was asking, it doesn't matter. If it provokes something in the client, let's go there. It's the client session. And sometimes the clients ask me like, okay, so what do you mean? Or what are you looking for? And I say, I don't know. What do you think I mean? And they will find something very different. So we already talked a little bit about the leadership bias. So it is, so I would not come and say, okay, this is not working. I would explore. So how can we make this work better? Or I would not come, angrily saying that, okay, so who's accountable for this project that didn't go well? But I would probably ask, okay, who knows this project the best so that we can explore how we can go forward? So bringing up things in a respectful way is all about your bias, about your thinking, about how you approach the situation, and about you not going into those avoidance techniques, not bringing up your defenses, not going to fix something or blame anyone. You're curious. You're there to partner so that you can move forward. And any topic can be brought up if you are really with the full heart there to support the growth of this person. Do you have a question about this that's going on in your mind now? When you get the first sense of, should I bring this up? The answer is always yes. I've never ever heard someone say, I intervened too late or too early. That was it. I've never heard them say, I intervened too early. I brought it up too early. They never say that. Usually we've known for several months that I should bring this up, I should talk about this, and I haven't done it. And the problem becomes bigger. Okay? Does this resonate at all? Okay. Okay. So, how to provoke slow thinking, and the coaching approach is exploration, it's collaborative learning. Sometimes when we go to a coaching school and we learn the grow model, we kind of learn the action-oriented way that, this is the result we want, these are the options, and let's start doing stuff. Then we forget that coaching is really about learning, about growth, about equipping the client with new insight, new awareness. So it is great that we get the results. But if we need to choose between learning and results, we'll get the results. When the client is learning, or when your employee is learning, the results will come. But you might get the results without the learning, and then you are just repeating, and they become dependent on you as a manager or as a coach, and that's not what we're looking for. So before we want to bring up a difficult issue, we need to do stuff with ourselves. So first of all, get clear. Get clarity so that you're not babbling to the person. Have you ever had that someone is giving you feedback and you're like really desperately trying to listen to what are they wanting to say? Because they are just going on and on and on and jumping from one topic to another and you have no clue what they're talking about?
Usually I ask kindly, can you repeat again what you just said?
And they can, because they've been talking all over.
And they pause. Okay.
And that's a good way to kind of get them off track a bit so that they can formalize and focus. Good. So in your head, for yourself, get clarity of what is your intent. Are you here to fix them? Are you here to support them? And then understand yourself, what is the issue? What is it that you really want to communicate? What is it that you want them to know or remember from what he said? And then summarize that into 1 or 2 sentences so that you're not all over the place, but you're able to go directly to the issue. Then select the right moment, but still don't avoid, but be aware that you need to be in the right state to bring it up. If you are angry or frustrated, that's not the right state. So go out, calm yourself, come back, and have the discussion. And then remember privacy. So if you are bringing up difficult issues, you don't do it in public. You don't do it in a lunch line, or you don't do it when others are listening. Make sure that you have a private moment to have this discussion. And then the third one was connecting and really dropping your ego. Really being there person to person. Find the right state for you. A great coach or a great leader is able to create a space, an empty space, an acceptance, a loving space where the other person can enter. Where the other person feels safe to be seen, heard, and listened to. And that's what we do. In that space, we can bring up anything, any difficult issue, because we both feel and sense that it's for the growth, for the benefit, even if it's something we don't want to hear. And if it's something that you feel the other person doesn't want to hear, maybe that's the openness you need. That's your first line. I'm kind of nervous, you don't want to hear what I have to say. Or I'm afraid you will get upset. Now you've got their attention, right? And then during that discussion, share your intent. I want to give you feedback because I truly want you to grow and shine. Or whatever your intent is, but just share it out loud. And then share what you notice, not what you interpret or what you judge, but what you notice. So it's not evaluating or judging the person. It's not saying that you did it wrong or you were late. It's just, I noticed that you arrived 20 past. I noticed that you raised your voice tonight. And share your personal impact. What did it feel for you? Or what was the impact on the team in that situation? Or what was the impact on the results? And then share the expectations. What would you like them to do more or less? A lot of times it's not helpful to tell the person that you did this wrong and this can never happen again. They might totally agree, but they don't know what to do. They don't know how to improve, how to do it differently. So just share that. I would expect you to come 5 minutes before we start. Or I would like you to interrupt others less. Does this make sense? So how we invite directness is that we can ask how we can step up. So we've been taught to go and ask for feedback. Usually what we get when we ask for feedback is that, oh, you're doing fine, oh, there's nothing, you know, you're doing great, or whatever. But when you go and ask for help to grow, then people are willing to maybe tell you something that will actually help you grow. Something that might be difficult for them to bring up. Because you are in the state of really listening and not getting upset if they say that you should do something differently. And then if you get feedback, if you get some nourishing feedback, if someone is telling you something that might feel uncomfortable, then listen, do not explain, do not deny, or do not come up with excuses. So if someone says that, you know, I really kind of feel that you're not listening to me, then don't go I do listen to you. You saw me listen, or when it was really difficult to listen because I had slept a bit bad and so on. Don't go there. Just listen and say, thank you. I will really work on this. And if you do that once, you get them to help you another time. And you build an organization that is able to really contribute to each other's growth and give feedback. A lot of the times when we are talking about building organizations that are giving feedback to others, we forget that we first need to build the trust that we can give the feedback on. Otherwise the feedback will be like, yeah, you had a nice presentation. And then really utilize the feedback. Work on what you hear. I've completely stopped using all kinds of assessments with my clients due to the fact that the discussions were always the same. They got some kind of rating on a 360, whatever, that, you know, for example, that they are being aggressive, or they are being stubborn, or they are not listening, whatever. And every time the manager says, yeah, I know this, but you know, it's just my style, or yeah, I always get this feedback. I was like, these are not helpful. We need to approach the feedback that we get in a very respectful way. It's a gift to us. And we should treat that gift with the respect that it should have. Do something on the feedback that you get that is actually nourishing your growth, if you're willing to do this. So, a quote, I don't know from where, that don't demand for improvement, but inspire your team to do better. And as the last part of this session, I will give you some tips on how to follow up the progress and transparency with the help of technology. So first of all, two parts. It's the corporation part, where corporations are expecting the professional coaches to actually be GDPR compliant and to have technology, have modern way of doing coaching and providing the services. But on the other hand, coaches are not tech savvy. Technology is like distraction. And we coaches, we want to interact with the client. We don't want any technology there, which is okay. But when it comes to the admin work, creating the proposals, following up the process, the invoicing, the booking, all of this can be automated so that you can take your time with your clients. And we can increase the transparency of the progress, the impact, the value, so that the organizations can also measure the return on investment, or actually the return on training investment, ROTI. And we can also improve the learning, put the accountability on the clients in a different way, and make the progress visible with the help of technology. So here's ICF and Human Capital Institute did a big study on different ways of supporting the growth in organizations. And what was interesting here was that the most used methods, like trainings and so on, had the least effect. And the least used methods, like individual coaching and group coaching and team coaching, had the biggest effect. So I think this study was really important for us as managers and as coaches to really see that the impact of coaching and the investment in coaching is a lot greater than any training that we can do. Because the awareness part, that is powerful. The awareness will stay there. The trainings will come and go. And one finding from the same survey was that the coaching culture is being nourished, and that's where the high performers live. So 61% of the organizations that had coaching culture, they were high performing, versus the only 27% of the cultures that didn't have a coaching culture. And what do I mean by coaching culture? In the study, there was 6 things that were measured. So the fact that executives value coaching, they know what it is about, and they've had some experience. Employees also know what coaching is, and they value it. Leaders, HR, and internal coaches have received coach-specific training, usually from an ICF accredited trainer. And then coaching has a dedicated line in the budget. So that's part of the way that the competence development is being planned. Coaching is part of it. And then employees have access either to an internal or an external coach, or a leader using coaching skills. And the last one is that all 3 modalities are used. So we have internal coaches, external coaches, and we have leaders who have coaching skills. So if you're looking to become more coaching culture-like in your organizations, these are the things that you might want to check and see what you can do for these. And as last part, I've divided a Coaching Works pamphlet for you. So I've created a tool to support my coaching business, because I coach executives in big corporations, and they have a high demand on the GDPR, on the data safety and privacy, and they want to have an easy access for their employees to get coaching, have the visual process, have also the transparency for the HR, who's being coached, how is it progressing, what are the feedback that the clients are giving, and so on. So this is what the tool looks like. So there are ratings, there's a visual process for the client that's supporting the growth. There's guided blended learning. You can have your digital notes, you can have your learning journal there, and then all services that you are providing as a coach or within the organization. You might have a mentor program, for example, that you want to run. They are visually visible, and the login can be from the intra. You can access 24/7, you can chat with your coach. You have validated partners, people who are already kind of validated by other clients that they are doing a brilliant job. You have automated contracts, you don't need to do that manually. And you have transparency on the target set, on the value, on the feedback, supporting the accountability, visual analytics, so you get value ratings, coach ratings, you get transparency on the return on investment. And now for the coaches in the room, we have a special offer for people who have been participating into this workshop. So if you go to thecoachingworks.com, there's up there a campaign code, so you just write Agape, and you will get 3 months with price of 1 to try out the digital tool and just enjoy the ride. And if you're an organization and you're looking for a digital tool to run your coaching pool with internal and external coaches, just contact us and we'll help you get started or figure out if this is the right tool for you. Okay. So, as the last thought, how can you use the insights that you got today moving forward, going back to your work? Write something for that. And then just use your leadership superpower wisely. Thank you. Explain this to me, okay? Same group of people, same time and moment, 4 completely different encounters, connections with people. How did you do that? Your mind? Intentions. this is frustrating, these people are stupid, or you thought they will reject me, I'm not good enough, or you thought I really need to make a good impression, or you just thought I've got joy, I'm going to share it. 4 very different ways of approaching life, and the way you think changes your body language. Do you know we have about 40, at least 40 different little muscles in our faces that the only job is to express emotions, and we cannot take them all. Even if you think you're a good actor, you cannot. So it's so much easier to change your thought than change your body language. And when your thought changes, I didn't tell you to lunge. I didn't tell you to go like this. I didn't tell you to stop breathing. And everyone did the same. So your thought immediately changes your body, your energy, your breathing, your approach, everything about you. So wouldn't it be smart to just pay attention to how you think? Yeah? So our thought changes the body language, which changes completely the energy you're in, which changes the interaction, the connection that you have with someone else. Have you ever noticed when someone enters the room, a friend of yours, and they always they bring life with them? However bad your day has been, when you meet with them, when you talk to them, you think it's okay. And then you've got those friends, or you had them, that when they enter a room, they really suck out the energy. You know, whatever great day you had is not great anymore. So they will make sure of that. How many of you have encountered a friend like that? Mm-hmm. So now the question to you is, which one are you?
Depends.
It depends. What does it depend on?
On the day. On the day.
On the day?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about that? So it's the day's fault, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the day in the morning when the day comes, it decides that I'm going to put a bad day on you.
Exactly.
Just be conscious that you have that choice in the morning. What do you think? What do you feel? Whatever happens in life, we still have that choice. Another book comes to my mind, and it's Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. Yeah, it's quite rough, but I think it's something. Any other questions?
So have you seen any common traits of an organization that doesn't help leaders, or which kind of brings leaders lower than they could be?
I have, unfortunately. I am also seeing that more and more virtual leaders that have like the growth nourishing mindset are being promoted, which wasn't the case 10 years ago. But we do still have a lot of old-fashioned leaders who want to, demand and conquer and point out the mistakes and really kind of lead with fear. I've even seen leaders who actually tried that. They say, I lead with fear and people do what I say. And for me, it's unbelievable, but in their world, it's the way it was. It's the way, they were taught management should be. And it is quite difficult for a leader to be working under a manager like that. But if they have a couple other people who believe in the good leadership, they can survive with a manager like that. So one of the skills that we have as a leader is also how do we lead our manager.
Yeah.
And one way that I usually kind of advise for a leader who's working with a manager like that is that they should make sure that the manager is always aware of what's happening, because then they get off your back and they put their focus on someone else. So what I've introduced is a one slider like this. So on this side, I'm going to write some lines. This is what I'm going to do next. This is what I've done. This is what I need help with. And this is where we have a problem. Just to make one slider every 2 to 4 weeks and give that to the manager. When the manager starts feeling that you really have your focus and you are keeping them on track what's going on, and they have the opportunity to guide you if that is not what they would like you to do next, then they get off your back and they put their focus on someone else, and you kind of get your piece to work in your organization.
I have another question around being a leader and having the team remote. So the team is not here with you. So
And what is the question?
What superpower needs this leader to have? Because it's more easy in a way to manage people that are in the same office with you or having the same culture as you, but since you are, I don't know, let's say you're Finnish and you have a team here, in my opinion, it's not the same way, so you face different challenges in a way. So do we need different superpowers, or can you give us tips and tricks, or what to be more careful about?
Okay, so I don't have the right answer. I can share my experience, and that's one perspective. So for example, I do have a remote team right now as well, and I have one guy working in Romania. We've never met face to face. He's worked for me for like 8 months now. He's great. We talk 3-4 times a week over Skype with video. I feel like I know him very well, but I've never met him. So I think it's again about the mindset that yes, it is easier when you meet people on, by the coffee machine and at lunch and so on. But if you are really interested in the people and you take the time to know them and you use the technology that we have, it's not that different when you have a video camera and you're talking and seeing them, but it is face to face. But then you need to make the effort of also talking about something else than just the topic that you have right now. Ask them how they are, how their weekend was, or what are they going to do next weekend, or what has been challenging, or what have they enjoyed this week's things that we've done. Just make an effort in really knowing the people. And about the cultures, I used to lead in an organization where I had managers working or reporting to me from India, Czech, Sweden, Finland, and UK. Very, very different cultures. And for some while, I tried to be kind of culturally understanding and tried to understand how things work in India, and I visited them there, and I visited them in Czech, and tried to understand. And finally I said, screw it. Everyone is a person, and every one of us have our own cultures. Like with your spouse, for example, you come from a different culture. In your family culture, you might be okay to be in the company with each other and just do your own thing. In another culture, it's rude. It's considered rude. If you're in a room with someone else, you should be interacting with them. You should kind of consider their emotions or being. So every one of us, we come from a different culture. Even if it's not a country culture, but every family has their own culture. So I started to think that, Rajat or Maria or Stephen, they were all just great people with different family cultures. And I really wanted to connect with the person. And kind of the cultures disappeared. We didn't have those cultural issues because it was just person to person. And building the trust where you can actually discuss those topics and explore if something is disrespectful in the other person's culture or if they would prefer something else. Just having that openness that we can talk about them. And we can share. Like if I ask a person in India that, okay, so we talked about this task that you need to do, do you have any questions? And they go, no. Then I might say, okay, in my culture in Finland, we always ask something to just kind of double check that we've got it. So could you ask something? So I could just ask them if I feel that I need something. Because it might be different in their culture. And we're individuals. And we come with our own baggage and own cultures and own biases and own beliefs and own fears and own worries. So if you're able to open that discussion and talk about all of these, it's quite helpful. Not only with your employees, but also with your clients. So if you're an organization and you are able to talk with your client about what worries them, I would not use fear as a word with the client, but I would use worry. So we are making this project together. What are some of the worries that we might encounter? Having that discussion will build the kind of trust that whatever happens in the project, you're able to solve it together, instead of going into, the vendor did wrong or the client is stupid, that we might go into otherwise.
I have a question, because you mentioned about your leadership role covering more countries. What about the role of a female leader in an organization that was probably driven by men?
Yeah. What about it?
Sharing your experience and how you managed to, to get to the same table and to get these excellent results that you mentioned at the beginning.
I think I'm repeating myself, but again, it's about how you think. I didn't think of myself as being different gender. I didn't see it that way. I was doing my leadership. I was producing my results. I was asking the questions. And yes, I was sitting in tables where everyone else was male and 55, and I was the only woman under 40 at the time. And I was more concerned about being young than being a woman, actually. Yeah. But then I compensated the youngness with always saying, I've got 4 kids. So, it depends on how you think and how you show up and what kind of treatment you also, demand is not the right word, but expect. So, and I know this might sound funny now, but for example, because of being the only woman in the management team there, I always stopped at the door, and I expected them to open the door for me. Because I believe that that's what should be done. That was part of my values, that you show respect to a woman. In that situation, I considered myself as a woman, but not as a lower standard. Maybe even more the opposite way, that as a woman, I should be treated more respectfully than men treated each other. So that was just my thinking. And one of my, in very early stages of my career, I was probably not even a team manager at the time. I was probably running a project. And our department manager asked me to join a lot of meetings And I had no clue what I was doing there. I was like the young girl sitting there listening to these clients, and I had nothing to say. And after that meeting, my manager came up to me and said, okay, so what did you hear? And I just told him what I heard. I said, well, the person who's the manager at the clients was saying this and this, but every time he said something, he was looking at the other guy. So I think the other guy is the one actually making the decision. And later on, years later, I realized what he was doing. He was using what I was skilled at. I was good at reading people. And he put me into the tables because nobody cared about me in those meetings because they thought I was a secretary. And I had the benefit of using that later as well. So when I was a department manager and I was part of negotiating some deals with the clients, and some of my subordinates, men in their 50s, we together, like there was 2 guys and me, we went to the clients and we had a discussion. The client was talking to the men. I was sitting back, I was listening, I was making notes, and when it was time, I was there. And I said what we're going to do and blah, 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 and they were surprised. So I always had the element of surprise because I never introduced myself as, the manager or the boss or anything like that. Because again, I didn't see myself that way. So for me, I don't care about titles, I don't care about rank, I don't care about the organizational levels, I care about people. And I treat the CEO respectfully if they are respectful, and I treat the clean lady respectfully if they are respectful. It doesn't matter. I don't respect the CEO who's being rude. I don't know if I again answered your question, but I think I didn't think of myself as being a woman any different than someone being a man. What else? No.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.